So Tech Mahindra, on the whole, you would say it's mixed because the top line growth has come in at 0.8%, very marginally better than street expectations, but margins have missed on consensus. Sarabjit Kour Nangra of Angel Broking joins us now. Sarabjit, 0.8% on dollar revenue, EBIT margins 11.95%. Your initial reaction?
Overall, if top line is marginally better than expected, but margins is a big disappointment. We were expecting a bit of around 12.3. It's lower than that also. So I guess it's overall, if I have to say, it's a miss only. Net, if I have to put it.
Okay,
broadly.
so it's a miss by Miss says Sarabjit Kour Nangra of Angel Broking. Let's get in Prakash Diwan and find out his initial reaction. Prakash, how are you reading the numbers?
So, generally the expectation was about a subdued quarter for Tech Mahindra. So I think from that respect, there are no surprises of sorts. But my only thing is to figure out in terms of what the management expects eventually, because if there's some turnaround, if there's going to be some sort of a turnaround, then it could probably have a strong base that it has created, from this, because the disappointment is not as severe as I thought. So I'm kind of okay with the numbers. Given the Brexit issues that we had, a lot of pessimism surrounded the stock before we came in. But it should sail through probably if the next quarter or two are guided well.
Okay, so what would be the stock reaction tomorrow?
See, I'll tell you the fact that the rupee revenue was just about a tad 0.5% growth and all was all in line. If you see all the metrics, they're very much in line. The stocks already reacted to it. So I would probably not even expect any major reaction in the stock tomorrow. It could only start consolidating and maybe in the next week or so start actually seeing some short covering come. So it should be positive, maybe not tomorrow in the first half, but towards the second half, people would start kind of, reworking their calculation slightly positively.
You won't be disappointed by the margins?
Yes, no, the margin is definitely weaker than what people were expecting, but that was bound to happen. See, it's like this. Today, the trend is very clear. Most expectations are linear in nature, whereas some of the changes that are happening in these IT companies are fairly non-linear in nature. So when that happens, it could probably optically seem very disappointing. But I would really not be very worried about this kind of fall, because 12%, roughly 12% vis-a-vis that 13% was fine, because people have probably, started expecting a bit too much from these IT companies, and the environment is really tough. So the disappointment is something that people can take in their stride. It's not something which you really would see a howler of sorts on the stock.
Okay, so Prakash is not too disappointed, just trying to get hold of, more details. Remember, this quarter, the company was going to get a 1-month contribution from the acquisition of Pininfarina that they had done, and that would have contributed about $6 million, at least on the company's top line. So if you go by that, the organic growth for Tech Mahindra would have been still subdued, but that is something that was anticipated by the street. I think the only miss that has come through has come in on the margins, where at 12%, it's good 100 basis points lower than consensus expectations. Margins were expected to be lower, one in account of seasonal weakness in Comviva, which is an acquisition that the company had done for the telecom vertical about 4 years ago, and this is a seasonally weak quarter in Comviva, and secondly on account of visa costs. But I don't think too many people on the street anticipated such a decline in the margins. Sarabjit, have you gone through any more internals that you'd like to shed light on?
Not really right now. I'm trying to figure out what could be possible reason apart from obvious ones for margin to be actually so lower than expected.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not able to get anything additional on that.
Okay, the telecom vertical on expected lines has been subdued. So the telecom vertical has seen a decline of 2.5% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. So that is one area of concern. The manufacturing has done very well for the company. Telecom continues to remain under pressure, and that has seen a degrowth of close to about 2.5% in dollar terms. That apart, I think even there is a bit of a decline that we would have seen in Europe. So I'm just trying to calculate that number, but I think Europe too would have seen a bit of a at least underperformance compared to the company growth rates. Karan Turani also joins in. Karan, how are you reading the numbers?
Yeah, so the numbers are a disappointment, obviously, on the margin front, and the growth in the telco obviously is largely because of Comviva, the decline of 2.5% Q-on-Q, which you pointed out. And apart from the other verticals like manufacturing have actually grown because of the acquisition which they have done. And margin could also be is a negative impact. It's also because of the acquisition. So if you see the acquisition of Pininfarina, it has a negative impact on the margin of 50 to 60 bips on the EBIT level. So we need to wait and watch as if they've taken the full impact on this 1 month revenue in terms of the margin impact.
You're saying on the whole numbers are negative. What should be the stock reaction?
Stock reaction would not be huge negative because valuations are already at very cheap, and it largely factors in the negative impact of the telco business which they have right now. And so I mean, stock would not be a huge negative. There's hardly any downside from current levels actually.
Okay, that's the management of Tech Mahindra. By the way, before that, Maruti Suzuki, some news over there. They have gone ahead and hiked the prices of their fast-selling car, Baleno, and that's gone up by nearly 10,000 rupees per unit. Remember, this is a car which is doing very well. But that's the management getting ready to address the media in just a bit. A quick recap then of the top numbers for Tech Mahindra. The dollar revenue growth has come in at close to about 0.9%.